So now we're dealing with Yang Xiaolong. I honestly have to say, it's an interesting design. It's an interesting design for a teenager. I will say that.
Just for kicks, I'm gonna run it live and drag her. I mean, just you can just tell from here that it runs pretty beautifully.
I think season 2 is going to be a bit better than season 1.
It feels like a Bleach design, where it's just like, you look at me, and you look at this, and then you look at me and tell me this is a teenager. This is a little... this is a little much, just saying. It's kind of a little out there. But that aside, it's kind of clear that they did have something, like, I think for most part, I think Yang has kind of been more of a favoritized character. Her designs have kind of, like, I think over the years have kind of been pretty decent, and I think they, like... Yeah, I think it's clear that Yang was one of their favorite characters, that they really, like, wanted to express that most in the design. The concept design, I think... The colors are weak. I think the colors are a little more weak because they're very bright in line with her hair. I like the yellow just being secluded mainly to her hair. Her being donned in these browns and these oranges and next to, like, her yellow hair, I think is a good attention to detail. Like, you have a character that's more color themed, you work with a specific design, you save most of the color for in this character for the hair. I like that. I think that's fine. I really wish that for the actual, like, hair, we would have gotten more of the flame aesthetic that they were going with in the original design. Her hair in, like, the show and other iterations of RWBY, her hair is, like, long and flowing. And it's not until, like, her power is activated that gives off the vibe of fire, because it's literally set on fire. It's a 6 out of 10, honestly. It's that specifically for the colors. And also, again, it's just, like, interesting design for a teenager, I will say. Let's switch over to what it actually looked like in show. So... yeah, this is one of the times where I'm like, the colors sort of being either darkened or somewhat lost in translation. The colors being like this, I don't really have a problem with. You keep a lot of the brighter colors to the hair. You keep that as the main focus for brighter colors. But first and foremost, like front and center, you have a lot more darker colors, like brown, like colors that feel a little more grounded. I like some of the placements here, because it feels like, again, this design feels a little more freer. This design feels a little more like they're playing around with space. This is also playing with asymmetry, but it's playing with it in a way that feels... It doesn't feel distracting. It doesn't feel like you're only using asymmetry as a crutch for your design. No, it feels like you're adding a little bit of, like, asymmetrical pieces here and there. Orange and yellow being sort of the accents next to this brown. And then the yellow, her hair taking up the bulk, sort of being in the back, I think is great. The concept is like a 6 out of 10. Honestly, I gotta give like the 3D model a 10 out of 10. Yeah, and it looks significantly like a little less weirder with the actual model, I will say. And then we have one other design. It's her in her pajamas. I like it. I think her with like just with black and orange, I think is really cute. But she has more of an outgoing personality, and you know, it's a little more athletic. Orange and black, and just having her hair be more of the yellow. I think that's fantastic. Honestly, this is like a 9 out of 10 regarding the pajamas. Now we gotta move on to Volume 2. Oh, that's weird. Did it not? Ah, it didn't.
Yeah.
Well, I will talk about this in the meantime, before I get to the actual one. Dance dress. It's very, on my perspective, I would say, honestly, it has, I think, some heavy inspiration to Marilyn Monroe. I think it's a nice design. It kind of comes off in the same problems I do have with the other, like, dance dresses. It's a simple design. It's nice. It looks fine. It looks alright, but it feels too simple, and there's not really a whole lot to help address the personality in a lot of ways. It just kind of, to me, feels like they looked at, like, Marilyn Monroe and then went, you know what, she's got blonde hair too. We'll go with that for this design. I'll give it a 6 out of 10, honestly. But yeah. Alright, here we go. So, it's interesting, because I kind of want to bring up the... Let's compare, because relatively, I feel like both of these have a lot of similarities to them. So for one, she has a little more detail to her, like the purple cloth right here. Next to that, like there's less skin showing. And I think the reason for that being why I thought there was like more skin on it is because of the color choice. It's hard to tell what is actually her skin and what is actually part of the actual jacket. Like the torso itself, it's kind of hard to tell whether or not that's like a full part of the dress or if like it's just a dress kind of cut up into pieces. You know what I mean? The black on like the top part of the dress, like covering her arms, alongside it being sort of accented and more around the legs, I think is fine. I would have chosen a different like color overall for this design, I think. Maybe go for something along the line of like a red or something, or maybe, yeah, going along the lines of like a red. But it just feels like, again, I think the biggest thing holding this design back for me is the colors, because again, a little too much like it blends a little too well into her actual skin tone for me. It's a 5, honestly, for that. It's a 5 out of 10. Now we're going to get into a few different designs, because throughout volumes 4 through 6, she's had a few different ones. Pretty much the design she had for a good chunk of volume 4. It's not a bad design. Like, genuinely, I think the color choosing is fine. Like, they went with more subdued and more muted colors, and they kept an orange top for her. Yeah, but it is, like, covered by a more brown or beige-esque kind of coat on top of that. And give her brown pants, white sneakers, like, and her hair is, I think, more tied back, relatively. Genuinely, like, this isn't that bad of a design. I like the color placement. It's a lot more simpler, but, I don't know, I think this is, for some reason, it's giving me, like, Infamous vibes, in a way. Like, the design feeling very, like, casual, but at the same time, it's just, like, I could see her kicking ass in it. That's the thing. It's a 7 out of 10. So let's move on from that to the main design from Volume 4. Okay, so genuinely not too terrible. But some of these design elements, they could be... I don't know. I mean, like, okay, I'll give the boots, like, a pass because, you know, those zippers just stop at a point. So, yeah, you know, that kind of makes sense. But the gloves over the actual, like, her actual hands and everything, and her arm, like, even her prosthetic arm, that seems just needless. Then there's this part of the collar that's also covering her, like, orange scarf. I don't know what that's about. And again, similar to a number of other designs, the jacket ultimately, like, having a zipper that doesn't go all the way down to where the jacket should end. That's a problem. This part of the coat, this comes off, which I kind of like that they do that, because in the show, they do it whenever she needs to fight. That's fine. But it's just like, what's the point of these? What's the point of this? Like, genuinely, if you're just going to take it off every time you go in to have a fight and everything, and it's not a part of the coat itself, right? Why have them to begin with? And this is it in show, and it does not look great. I think for a lot of the designs in the actual, like, well, at least for RWBY and Weiss, the colors just get drowned out. There's not really a whole lot of vibrancy when it comes to the coloring, which is a shame. And also, the coloring in the show, honestly, at times looks significantly worse than the actual art. I'll give the concept art at least, like, a 6 out of 10, honestly. There are some design elements I do not agree with regarding it, honestly, and some design elements, especially in the show, that honestly come off as a little stupid. It's stuff where it's like you take off some things here and there, and relatively, I think it's a fine design. Also, again, I don't understand why the concept design has just, like, again, with, like, the zipper on her jacket. At the very least, with the show, it doesn't necessarily come off that way. I think it's also a 6 out of 10, honestly. Oh, I didn't talk about this one. This is technically a design. Yeah, this was when she was starting to get back into things. It's without the coat, and they added in an arm. Yeah, it's relatively the same design. Like, she has her hair tied back, which I think is great. She has a new prosthetic arm, but, you know, considering that they added in the arm and they removed the jacket, you know what? I gave this, what, did I give this, like, an 8? I'll give this, I think I gave, like, the one on the right an 8. I'll give the one on the left a 9. I think these are pretty good designs. I don't know. characters that wear less layers, but at the same time wear clothing that isn't incredibly like over gratifying in terms of like sexual appeal and everything, right? Like what she's got on right now is like, it's less layers, but it's a simple design. I think it's effective. It's interesting because everything except the actual design from volume 4 through 6, I actually do like. Now we gotta talk about the volume 7 through 9 design. Okay, so on some level, I will say genuine improvement over volume 4. This is a point in time where they're going like more of a colder area, more of a tundra. Cool. She goes with more of like a sort of jumpsuit that you would, I imagine you would probably see like other people who work in like construction or work in like more physical labor fields would wear. That's cool. Some problems though. You all can see what I'm about to say, but genuinely, why the fuck isn't this just a full piece jumpsuit? Why are the legs just separate pieces of the suit? And furthermore, why are they held together with more belts? These little belts here, why are they held here with belts and buttons? Does Atlas just have this much problem regarding like keeping their clothing together? But honestly, I think that's like the only biggest criticism I do have of it from this, because I love the color of the jumpsuit. The interior of the jumpsuit, with her having like from what looks like a white sports bra or a white tank top, I think is fine. Her having a crop top winter jacket, fantastic. Like you have her like in this fit, which is more for physical labor, but you give her more of this sort of like thrill seeker-esque kind of vibe. Something that I feel like a Guilty Gear Strive character might wear. This design overall is an 8 out of 10. I love the boots, like genuinely, like it's just regular boots. Like these are like, I imagine these are probably like something along the lines of like Carhartt or something. The cloth that's usually on her left leg is now switched to her right. Like yeah, genuinely, like there's not too much about this I don't really hate. Like her having like one of her hands having orange gloves. It's an 8 out of 10. It's an 8 out of 10 for concept. Now for the show. The jumpsuit having more like an overall-esque kind of strap to it, I don't have a problem with. That's fine. That makes sense. It's functional. Yeah, and again, the jacket, the crop top jacket, again, I'm fine with. It adds a little more personality to it. I like that the arm is a little more, like, refined, because this is a little more different compared to what she was carrying with, in Volume 4. I think the colors, relatively, I think, are pretty fine. Like, nothing too, like, yeah, there's a change, but it's nothing too terrible. I think this is relatively, I think this is a decent design, honestly. This is both in show and in concept. This is an 8 out of 10. Yeah, this is definitely, like, I don't really have too much to say about this design that I really, like, hate. I don't really have much to say. It actually is pretty decent. Biggest notes would be, like, hey, make the full jumpsuit. Don't go for these zippers on the legs. Alright, don't go for these zippers and these belts trying to keep this shit together on the legs. Like, just make it a full jumpsuit. So we will move on to the DC fit, and then we'll finish it off with the Hyousetsu Teikoku, and then we'll call it. So, call me crazy, but I don't think this is a terrible design. Honestly, it's a pretty decent design. Like, I love the color choicing. It definitely, like, this whole outfit comes off as armor. I think this is fine, like, genuinely. Also, it keeps in mind, like, she has, like, no weapon or sword by her or anything. Like, usually characters in armor carry sword, right? But the way this armor is actually focused on, it gives you the vibe that, you know, she's actually, like, a hand-to-hand combatant, which she absolutely is. Yeah, she'll use, like, projectiles on some level, sure, but she mostly fights hand-to-hand. I like this vibe that it's giving, where it's like, this is... Also, do I see some muscle definition on the right here? That's actually kind of nice. This isn't that bad of a design. I don't hate it. It ditches a lot of the needless details that were going on with some of the RWBY designs later on, and it goes for something a little more streamlined. Yeah, there's a little more asymmetry to it, but it's not so noticeable that it's obnoxious. It's just noticeable enough to make the design a little more interesting. Yeah, this design is actually not that bad. I don't hate it. Again, I've never seen this movie, and I don't intend to watch it, but just from looking at it, like, so far, I think RWBY's the only one who got the shaft on this, because I hate her design in the actual, like, movie. This is a 9 out of 10, by the way. Now we have, last but not least, Hyousetsu Teikoku. Now, I do want to put this up because, and compare it, because at a glance, it can seem like, isn't this literally just her Volume 1 design? Because that's kind of what I thought when I went into this. So let's compare. Let's compare and contrast. So first off, this is showing significantly less skin. The colors are a little more toned down. The shoulders and whatnot have less puff going on regarding like the shoulders. She has goggles. Less of a, I would say, a sports bra, like actually like with her insignia, because in her Volume 1 design, there's like a sports bra actually carrying her insignia and everything. And in the one on the right, her dream design, it's very similar, but there's like subtle changes. Like, she doesn't have hot pants on. She has pants where one of them is cut off by the leg. Yeah, this is, and the boots are, like, they don't have any, like, laces or anything. They're just kind of boots. And her hair is tied back. Also, like, they just the scarf and added in, I think, a choker. Yeah, this design is, like, it's very similar, but you can tell, like, looking at it, there's little differences. And I think relatively, like, I like this design. It's not really hurting me or anything. It's not really hurting my eyes or anything. Like, the more I look at it, especially when it goes into the show, it's actually kind of cute. Almost a similar design to what Yang wears, but there's all these little subtle changes. If you look closely enough, you start to notice it and admire it. Yeah, like, so far, a lot of these designs that I've been seeing so far with Yang ultimately solve the 3-second design problem. No, you know, I think what happened, genuinely, and I think this happens down the road too, because RWBY was an annual release show that came out every year. What I think happened was that they needed new concept art, they needed new redesigns for the characters. They contacted like an artist in particular, and the artist drew up some concepts. And then they went with they looked over a design in less than 3 seconds and went, this one's cool, go with it. Because that's what it feels like. This falls into what I like to call the 3-second design problem. You look at a design for less than 3 seconds, it looks cool, it looks awesome. But you look at it for more than 3 seconds, you really start to notice the issues. You look at Blake's design for about 3 seconds, right? In your mind, you're just like, oh, that's kind of a cool design. You look at it for more than that, you start to notice the problems. The legs, the boots have needlessly just zippers, and the zippers are covered by knee pads. The coat has a giant broken zipper going down the middle that turns into a tailcoat. Has a belt for some reason across the waist. Has 2 broken zippers on the actual forearms that are held together by belts. Has a giant catsuit that has multiple zippers, including from the legs to the actual, like, part of the neck. The more you look at the design, the worse it gets, in my opinion. The more you look at, like, what Yang wears, like, there's a lot more positives to have than negatives. I feel genuinely like, out of everybody, Yang is, like, probably the character that gets favored the most when it comes to her designs. Like, honestly, I think she gets a lot of the times the best fits. Like, she gets some of the best designs. Yeah, this is a 9 out of 10. Again, it feels like her whole thing with the design is around favoritism. Because it really seems clear that the creators really like Yang. So much so that it's just, like, almost every design just almost damn near, like, nails it with her character. Like, there's a granted, yeah, it didn't stop her from having, like, details that were stupid or just did not need to be there. But overall, her designs, like Yang's designs throughout this series, were pretty good. Like, I honestly think I like her DC outfit significantly more in it's significantly more than her Volume 4 design. And her Hyousetsu Teikoku outfit, it's fairly similar to what she wore in Volume 1, but there's enough changes where it's like, it's a subtle change. Like, something where it's like, you can tell it's the same, but something is off, something is different.